Before we dive in, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to History Reborn Alive. It really helps the channel grow and honestly keeps these deep-cut historical breakdowns coming your way. Now, let's get straight into it. When we talk about the biggest idiots in United States history, we're not talking about personal insults here. We're talking about leaders, operatives, and decision-makers whose catastrophic choices shape the nation in ways that, well, historians still shake their heads at today. These are the blunders that cost lives, destroyed fortunes, changed political landscapes, and sometimes nearly tore the country apart. Understanding them isn't entertainment, it's strategy. It's how you train your historical instincts. If you're studying patterns of failure, collapse, miscalculation, or ego-driven disaster, this list is a one-stop masterclass. And if you're into preparedness or survival, these case studies show you exactly how systems fall apart when incompetence takes the wheel. Let's get started. The story begins when people in power underestimate reality. One of the clearest examples is General Edward Braddock, a man so confident in European battle tactics that he marched straight into the French and Indian ambush of 1755, losing nearly everything, including his own life, because he refused to adapt. His mistake teaches a practical lesson. Never trust tradition over terrain. If you're in a leadership role, military or not, assess the landscape before you repeat what worked back home. Conditions change. Bad decisions don't care about your credentials. Next, we move into the Revolution, where General Charles Lee stands out. In 1778, he panicked, retreated without reason, and sabotaged Washington's battle plan at Monmouth. His arrogance was matched only by his unreliability. For anyone studying operational leadership, Lee teaches that overestimating yourself is just as dangerous as underestimating the enemy. If you're building a business, running logistics, or even organizing community safety groups, avoid the Charles Lee syndrome: talk big, deliver chaos. Benedict Arnold appears here not because of treason alone, but because he threw away a brilliant career for money and wounded pride. His idiocy wasn't betrayal. It was failing to understand long-term reputation. Well, survivalists and historians alike know that in any system, trust is currency. Once you burn it, you're done. Arnold teaches long-game thinking. Don't destroy your future for short-term validation. Moving into the early Republic, the Embargo Act of 1807 under Thomas Jefferson earns a place because it was, honestly, a self-inflicted economic catastrophe. Jefferson tried to punish European powers by cutting off American trade, and instead he strangled the United States economy. It's a perfect example of policy drafted in theory rather than tested against reality. The practical lesson, really, is to always run the numbers before you impose a strategy. Whether you're prepping supplies, planning routes, or designing business systems, you should test your model against the real world before you commit. James Buchanan marks one of the most infamous presidential failures. His inability, or honestly, his unwillingness to address the escalating sectional crisis in the 1850s practically handed the nation to the Civil War. Buchanan's flaw was paralysis. He knew the danger, saw the consequences coming, and did nothing. You see, in any crisis, indecision is its own disaster. If you study the Civil War, you know leaders who hesitate lose the advantage. In practical terms, when facing pressure, whether in emergency response or organizational leadership, act decisively with the information you have. Waiting for perfect certainty is how nations and individuals collapse. Then we meet General Ambrose Burnside, whose poorly planned assault at Fredericksburg turned into one of the Union's most pointless massacres. He charged straight into fortified Confederate positions after telegraphing his intentions so clearly that even his opponents were confused. The takeaway is simple and honestly applicable anywhere. If the plan looks suicidal on paper, it'll be worse in execution. Always question tactics that rely on hope instead of advantage. The Gilded Age brings us to men like Ferdinand Ward, better known as the young Napoleon of finance, whose idiocy was dressed up as brilliance. His Ponzi-style schemes destroyed Ulysses S. Grant's fortune and, really wrecked public trust. He teaches a simple modern lesson. If someone promises high returns with low risk, you should probably just walk away. In survival terms, unreliable partners are honestly more dangerous than hostile strangers. Warren G. Harding's administration, well, it really earns mention through the infamous Teapot Dome scandal. Harding himself wasn't exactly malicious. He was just honestly astonishingly bad at recognizing corrupt friends. His flaw, you see, was loyalty without scrutiny. For anyone out there trying to build resilient systems, whether political, economic, or even, small-scale community networks, Harding shows us the cost of trusting people you haven't properly vetted. Moving into the 20th century, the Bay of Pigs fiasco under John F. Kennedy stands as, one of America's greatest strategic embarrassments. So, trusted advisors really underestimated Castro, overestimated the exiles, and, underestimated the global reaction. It was just poor intelligence, poor planning, and poor execution all around. The real lesson here, honestly, is that groupthink kills. If everyone in your circle agrees too quickly, you're probably headed straight into a ditch. Vietnam escalations under Lyndon Johnson, they followed the same pattern, driven more by fear of political backlash than by the actual ground truth. Mistakes really start to pile up when leaders prioritize public perception over the long-term consequences. It's a tricky balance, but history shows us the importance of looking beyond just the optics. So, if you're diving into the study of conflict, logistics, or crisis management, here's the thing to remember. Optics, they really don't hold a candle to outcomes. It's the results that truly matter in the end. Now, you could take this logic and apply it to more recent events. Think about FEMA's disastrous handling of Hurricane Katrina or those intelligence failures that led to the Iraq War. In each of these cases, we see the same old pattern repeating itself, ignoring inconvenient data, overestimating one's position and assuming systems will hold just because they always have. It's a pattern that, unfortunately, seems to persist. For survivalists, these failures are gold mines of insight. You know, systems fail slowly, then suddenly. Even the smartest people in the room aren't immune to blind spots. And, you know, every disaster has a moment where someone could have said, "Stop, rethink," but, well, they just didn't. Understanding the 33 people and decisions that fit this pattern really helps you sharpen your analytical edge. Study how bad calls cascade. Study how ego infects strategy. And, study how institutions hide warning signs. Then, you know, apply those lessons to your own planning. Whether you're stocking supplies, running operations, or analysing geopolitical trends, history gives you the blueprint of what not to do. If you found this breakdown valuable, make sure you like this video, subscribe to History Reborn Alive, and share it with fellow history enthusiasts who appreciate real analysis. More deep dives are coming.